Hey, so here's what we're going to do in this project. We're going to do some rotation of cubes. So if I reset here, see I got some cubes here, and then if I play, they're going to rotate. So instead of moving around, we're going to ask them to rotate. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to open up the template. Remember the template? Okay, I could save that. So we have our template here, right? And if you run, you should get no errors, right? So, but nothing is happening, of course, right? So we're gonna go to animation over here, right? And so the first thing we're going to do in animation is we're going to make the cubes, and then a cube one by one, and then we're going to animate it. So I'm going to declare a couple of variables up here before the function. See, before the function animate, and I'm going to declare how many cubes do we want. So I'll say num cubes equals. Let's say, you know what? I mean, we can go all the way with 8, right? And then we're going to say, well, we want to separate the cubes. So I'm going to say, oops, gap. I'll say gap is 0.5, right? 0.5, 0.5. Oops, gap equals 0.5. And the other thing is the size, right? So size equals 1. So we'll keep that out before the function. And now we're going to make the cube. So uh, we want to set up a loop for x in range, and then we're going to use the variable num cubes. So if you ever want to change that, you don't have to touch this code, num cubes, right? And I think the other thing I'm going to do, the x value is going to change because they need to move into a different position, but the y value will be 0. So we'll keep that at 0. And let's make the cube, right? So I'm going to put a little comment here, make cube. Uh, so we're going to set the x position for the cube equals x times size plus gap. So they all have a different position. And now we're going to set the location, right? Equals, and I think the location works like this, right? So we have x position, and so we call this y position, right? Y position, x position, y position, and z will be 0. So z is 0, and so we have everything we need now to make the cube. So I'm just going to copy some of the code that we had previously from other projects, right? How to make the cube, and you probably have this too. See, so I guess I have to show you the whole thing. You see, so here it is. We made the cube, and the other thing we're going to do. Let me see location, because location size equals size. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to add some material. So we're going to say mat equals make material, and I think you don't need anything. And then we have to again copy some code from a previous project where we apply the material. So we apply the material. So that should now make these cubes. So if I run it, let's see if I get any errors. Yeah, there they are. We made some cubes. I want to do one more thing. I'm going to name the cube. That's going to be important for later. So I'm going to say name equals, and I'll say cube animation. I'm going to call this animation 1 plus string x. So that will give it a name. We do have to apply the name, right? Because just having that is not good enough. So I'm going to apply the name. Again, I'm going to take some code, and you see I gave it a name. So every one of them now has a name. So nothing really will change when we run it. See, we still get the cubes, but they have a name. So that is the first part of this, is let's make each cube, right? And as you see, we made many of them. So let's animate the cube. I'm going to put a comment here, animate. So to animate, we have, and we're going to rotate, right? So we need an angle to start, right? And we need to start. We'll start at 0 degrees for the angle, and we also need a keyframe, to start, right? Keyframe equals 0. So that's our first keyframe. And now if I set up a loop, so I'm going to say for f in range and and we only need 2 keyframes, so I'm going to say 0, 2 to rotate, right? And I'm going to go down here, and what we need is some of the code that we did before, right? Where we have a keyframe and we have to set the keyframe, right? The other thing is we have to do some rotation, right? So this is a new part, right? Last time we moved it, but this time we're going to do a rotation. So it's something called Euler, and you see I'm going to set the angle that I have 0. So it'll start at 0, 0, 0. Of course, we do want to change that, right? So the next part is to actually apply the rotation, right? So I have some code. So you see, I'm going to go and apply this rotation. And the last thing that we need to do is, for the next one that we do is, we need to set the next keyframe, right? So I'm going to say keyframe and plus equals, I'm going to say 60. So that's about a minute, right? And we're going to change the angle. So the next time we have to change the angle, and we're going to say plus equals, and we're going to use pi, right? You must have heard of pi somewhere. So we're going to say math.pi. So that's 100, oh, excuse me, that's 360 degrees, right? So pi is 180 degrees, so it's 360 degrees. So now we have, let's see, so we should have some animation, right? So if I go to text and I run, right, I don't have an error, and I come down here and I want to take a look to see if they're animating, right? So if I go back, and here they are, they're animating, they're twirling around, right? They're twirling around, and but see, they're all starting and they're all uniform. I like to start them in a little different place. So this looks pretty cool too, but I want to start them in a different place. So they're all kind of staggered. So I'm going to change something. And I'm going to change this keyframe 0, right? They all start at 0 and they go to 60. So 0, 60, 0, 60. So before they animate, I'm going to make a new variable. Let's see, right? I think I'll call it key start. Key start, and I'll set that equal to 0, right? So the first one will be key start, but the next one will have a different key start. So let's say key start plus equals, let's say 20, right? So you see what will happen. It'll be staggered. The first one will be 0. The next one will start at 20. And then 40 and 60 and 80. You get the idea. So let's just see, right? Run script, and if I go to modeling and I reset and I run, and I guess I didn't reset, right? Didn't look like it did it, right? 0, 60, did it run it? Let's try it again, right? So I'm gonna go to my script, key start plus 20, right? Keyframe key start, I don't know, let's try it again. And then I have to check what's going on because they're not staggering, right? Let's see. They're all starting at the same time. So I'm going to check this. Okay, so I found the problem, right? Equals. Plus equals, I had plus minus, so that's a problem. So let's try it again now. So if I reset, right? And now you see they're all kind of staggering, right? Although I need to increase this to 200 so I can see them all, right? So let's reset and let's do it. So see them rotating and they're kind of staggering. So that's exactly what we want. Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to make some more rows, right? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to, this animation, I'm going to call it animation 1, right? So it's animation 1 is working. If I go down here, animation 1, it should be no problem. But I want to make another one, right? So I need to make a new row. So I'm going to copy, look, I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to put it over here, right? Of course, I'm going to call this animation 2, can be 1, right? And the other thing we have to change is the Y position, right? We don't want them in the same Y position. So what should this one be? So it should be size plus gap. So the Y position will change. And then, of course, I have to call animation. I have to call it, right? If I don't call it, nothing will happen. So let's see. That was pretty quick. There it is, right? I have 2 of them in modeling, right? And if I reset, um, it looks like one of them, oh, I know what happened. So this happened to me before and I couldn't figure out for a long time, but I have to change the name to 2, otherwise they all have the same name. You see, this got me for a long time, but I got it now. So let's now reset, right? And you see we have them animating. And of course I have to increase my rows here, now my frame here to 200 if I want to see all of them animate, right? But they're doing it. So your job is to do 6 rows. You have to do 6 rows, okay? 6 rows. That's your job.